$20 says my guy drops him before the mop hits the floor, the boxing coach sneers, voice slicing through the heavy gym air. The place smells of sweat, bleach, and ego, that sour mix only gyms and pride can make. You stand by the corner bucket, mop still dripping. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, stuttering like bad neon in a diner. His students glance over, waiting to laugh, waiting for you to shrink. You don't. You just wring the mop once, slow and calm, as if the bet he just made is no more important than a water stain on tile. "Come on, Marcus," one of the boxers chuckles. "You gonna let coach talk like that? Man said you're scared of your own shadow. The janitor, you, blink once. You're used to this. The jokes, the casual boy, the way they toss you glances like coins into a fountain. You know what they think when they see brown skin and a faded blue uniform in a place that smells like testosterone and trophies." Coach Rick leans against the ring ropes, grinning wide. "You hear that? Man's been mopping for what, 10 years? You'd think he'd learned some footwork by now." Laughter erupts. Someone pounds a glove against the heavy bag. It echoes like thunder through the room. You look up, eyes level, the corners of your mouth tightening into something between politeness and warning. "You betting your students' pride or your own?" That single question shifts the room's rhythm. The laughter dips. The young boxer, tall, confident, still wet with ambition, glances at his coach, unsure if this is still a joke. Rick waves him off. "Don't waste your breath, old man. You wouldn't last one round with my guy. Maybe not 1 minute. Your mop squeaks against the floor. Then it's a short bet. It's not loud. Not angry, just still. The way a storm sometimes begins with a silence that makes every sound after it sharper." Rick snorts. "What's that supposed to mean?" You don't answer. You finish the corner, lean the mop against the wall, and pick up the red bucket. The clang of the handle sounds like punctuation. "It means some fights don't start in the ring," you say softly, turning toward the locker room. People still argue whether it was pride or curiosity that made the coach follow you that night. Maybe both. All they remember is how the laughter started, and how suddenly it stopped. For now, though, the gym is alive with whispers. The fighters exchange smirks. A few pull out their phones, hoping this will become one of those viral humiliation clips. It's 2025. Nobody watches fights for the sport anymore. They watch for the spectacle, the shame, the moment a man's confidence turns into content. Rick cups his hands. "Tell you what," he shouts after you, "if you ever grow a pair, come back and prove you can throw more than a mop." You don't turn, but there's a small, almost invisible smile as you disappear down the hall. Later that night, when the gym's lights dim and the last boxer's laughter fades, you sweep the same floor again, but slower this time. You pause by the trophy case. Your reflection glimmers beside rows of names etched into brass. There's one plaque, old and tarnished, almost forgotten. The initials match your own. For a second, your hand lifts, not to touch, just to hover. You remember the crowd's roar, the weight of a towel over your shoulders, the sting of betrayal that turned cheers into whispers. Then the mop water sloshes against your boot, pulling you back to the present. In the manager's office, Rick leans back in his chair, still laughing with his student. You see that look? He's terrified. "Man's probably never thrown a punch in his life." The student frowns. "Coach, he didn't look scared. More like waiting." Rick waves it off. "Waiting, please. He's a janitor. He's been waiting his whole life for somebody to notice him. Let him dream." The student hesitates, thinking of the way you looked at the ring earlier, eyes tracing the ropes like someone who knows what they feel like against bare skin. But the moment passes. Ego fills the room again. Outside, the janitor closet hums softly with the sound of a small radio. A sports broadcast mutters an old name. A legend from years ago. Someone who vanished after a scandal in the 2000s. The announcer's tone is nostalgic. And though he never returned to the ring, his training methods shaped a generation of champions. You close the radio dial before the sentence ends. Some ghosts deserve silence. At dawn, you arrive early. You polish the mirrors, line up the gloves, sweep chalk dust from the floor. The world likes its heroes spotless and its workers invisible, but both bleed the same. When the first fighters trickle in, they find you shadowboxing alone. Movements slow, fluid, precise. Not showing off and just remembering. Someone watches through the window. Maybe it's the student. Maybe it's curiosity again. Whoever it is, they see something they can't quite explain. A rhythm too sharp for a janitor, a grace too confident for a man forgotten. They don't know it yet, but the bet has already begun. The next day, the gym hums with a sharper kind of energy. Not excitement, more like the low thrum before lightning hits. Words spread fast. The janitor might step into the ring. Nobody says it outright, but you can feel it in the way conversations pause when you pass, in the way laughter dips and eyes trail you as you wheel your mop bucket across the floor. Coach Rick loves it. You can see him drinking in the attention, the whispers, the growing crowd of regulars pretending to stretch while really just waiting for you to embarrass yourself. He paces near the ring, white towel draped over his shoulder, that old swagger gleaming like sweat under the lights. "Hey, Marcus," he calls, voice booming across the room. "Tell me something. When's the last time you hit a bag that didn't have detergent in it?" "You keep mopping quiet." The bucket water ripples, catching the light. Rick grins wider, circling the ring ropes with his hands clasped behind his back. "Don't be shy, man. You talked big last night. Or did I imagine that little line about some fights don't start in the ring?" The students chuckle, falling right into the rhythm of mockery. That's how it works. Power travels fastest through laughter. A few film on their phones, pretending they're just recording practice drills. You stop, squeeze the mop dry, and rest it against the wall. The room goes a little quieter. "Coach," you say calmly, "you really think teaching a boy how to throw hands is the same as teaching him when not to?" That earns a few nervous laughs, mostly from the older guys. Rick's jaw tightens, but he keeps the smirk. Big words from the janitor. "You talk philosophy now?" "No," you say. "I talk balance. There's something in your voice, not anger, not defiance, just gravity. It lands heavier than the words themselves." The student, Darnell, looks between you and the coach, suddenly less sure of this whole show. "Coach," Darnell mutters. "Maybe we don't—" Rick cuts him off with a scoff. "Don't what? Teach him a lesson? Boy, this man's been cleaning up sweat long enough. He should know what hard work looks like." He steps closer to you now, chest puffed, that faint cologne mixing with the sour gym air. "Here's the deal, Marcus. You step in the ring today. 2 rounds, nothing crazy. My guy here gets some practice. You get to show everyone those balance skills. Deal?" You meet his gaze. "What happens if I win?" The question drops like a glove. Rick laughs so hard he doubles over. "If you win? Hell, I'll clean the floors myself for a week." You smile slightly. "I'll take that." Laughter breaks out again, but it's shakier this time. There's something in your tone that suggests you're not bluffing. You turn to walk away, but pause by Darnell. "You got good form," you say softly. "But your left shoulder gives away your rhythm." He blinks, startled. "How'd you—" You just nod toward his stance. "Tell your coach to fix that." You leave the ring area, but every head follows you. The silence after you go is thicker than the noise before it. Rick waves a dismissive hand, forcing a grin. "See that?" He's scared. Talking technique like he's some old champ, please. But Darnell isn't convinced. He rolls his shoulder, testing your observation. It pops, exactly where you said it would. He stares at his reflection in the mirror, suddenly uneasy. Later, in the locker room, Rick throws a towel onto the bench. "Tomorrow at noon. We'll make it quick. I'll live stream it. Give people a little entertainment." Darnell frowns. "You sure that's smart? I mean, what if what? He's 50, maybe 60. Cleaning floors for a living. Don't let a few fancy words mess with your head." But he moves. "Different," Darnell says quietly. "Like he's been in there before." Rick scoffs. "Everyone shadow boxes when nobody's looking. Makes him feel young again." Still, that night, when the lights dim and the gym empties, Darnell can't shake the image of you moving with that eerie precision. So he pulls out his phone, opens a browser, and types your full name, Marcus Cole. At first, nothing. Just a few old local news articles about a charity fight, some faded boxing forums. Then one link catches his eye. Olympic coach suspended after scandal. Marcus Precision, Cole vanishes from boxing scene. He clicks it. The article's old, dated nearly 15 years ago. It talks about a trainer whose protege dominated national tournaments. A man known for timing so sharp that opponents called his method ghost striking. Then, a sudden disappearance after accusations of fight fixing. Never proven, but enough to ruin a career. Darnell stares at the grainy photo. Same eyes, same quiet posture. Just younger, he exhales. Oh, damn. People still argue whether what happened next was bravery or loyalty. Darnell could have told his coach right then, could have warned him who he was really dealing with. But curiosity wins. He says nothing. He wants to see it play out. The next morning, you're already at the gym before dawn, wiping mirrors and setting down mats like nothing unusual's coming. But there's a glint in your eye that wasn't there yesterday. You take out a small roll of white tape from your pocket, older, frayed, and begin wrapping your hands with slow, practiced care. Some fights start with laughter. Others start with memory. This one, started the moment he made that bet. By noon the next day, the gym is standing room only. Fighters, trainers, neighbors, even a few local reporters have gathered, drawn by rumor, fueled by ego. Someone's already set up a phone on a tripod. The red live light blinks like a heartbeat, broadcasting humiliation in advance. Coach Rick thrives under the attention. He's wearing his branded tracksuit, gold whistle hanging from his neck, shouting directions no one asked for. His student Darnell stretches by the ring, earbuds in, but his jaw's tight. He's not as sure as yesterday. You arrive last, quiet, rolling a small duffel bag that's clearly seen decades of life. No gloves, no fanfare, no entrance music, just calm. You set the bag down and start unzipping it. The zipper sound cuts through the murmurs. Rick grins. Well, look who decided to show up. You ready to mop the mat too, or just bleed on it? The crowd chuckles. You look up slowly. Depends on who's cleaning afterward, you reply. Even some of his students smirk at that. Rick's face tightens. A small, involuntary twitch of irritation. He gestures to Darnell. All right, champ. 2 rounds, light spar. Don't go too hard. We don't need a lawsuit, just a lesson. The referee nods, half amused. You good with that, Marcus? You nod once. 2 rounds. That's all it'll take. That last line lands differently. The gym goes quieter, the way air does before a clap of thunder. The bell rings. Darnell bounces lightly, gloves up, eyes locked on you. He's fast, young, conditioned, reflexes sharp. He throws a quick jab, testing range. You don't move. The punch grazes your guard and stops an inch short of your cheek. He frowns, tries again. Same result. It's like you knew before he did. Rick's shouting from the sideline, Don't play with him! Show him how we train here! You tilt your head slightly. You trained him to rush, you say softly, voice steady between breaths. That's why he keeps missing. The next punch comes faster, a flurry this time. You parry one, slip another, pivot just enough to let his momentum carry him past. It's not flashy, just efficient, the crowd murmurs. Someone lowers their phone a little, drawn into watching instead of filming. Rick laughs loudly, trying to keep control of the room. Oh, he's dancing. Look at him, doing all that fancy footwork. You think this is ballet, old man? But the way Darnell's eyes widen betrays the truth. He's struggling. His punches find nothing but air. Every miss drains confidence. Every dodge from you adds weight to the silence. Relax, you murmur, just loud enough for him to hear. You're chasing ghosts. He steps back, breathing heavier. Sweat drips onto the mat. The bell ends the first round. You don't sit. You just stand, arms resting on the top rope, breathing evenly. Darnell collapses onto his stool, chest heaving. Rick storms over. What the hell are you doing? He's an old man! You're making me look bad. Darnell gulps water, eyes fixed on you. Coach, he's reading me. Every move, it's like he's in your head. Then stop letting him, Rick snaps. Second round, go in hard. End it fast. Darnell nods, but his eyes betray doubt. Across the ring, you glance toward the far wall, at the old trophy case reflecting the light. Your own name stares back faintly from one tarnished plaque. You smile slightly. The past doesn't haunt you anymore. It hums quietly, reminding you who you are. The second bell rings. Darnell lunges forward, throwing combinations, desperate to end it. You step aside, slipping through space like water around stone. The crowd's noise fades into a single rhythmic sound. Breath, shuffle, strike. You're not fighting. You're listening. Then, just as he overextends, you whisper, "Now." Your right hand moves once. Clean, precise, controlled. It's not even loud. More like the soft thud of final punctuation. Darnell stumbles, eyes glassy, then drops to one knee. The gym goes dead silent. You step back immediately. No celebration, just stillness. Darnell shakes his head dazed, but okay. You reach down, help him stand. "You've got power," you say gently. "Learn patience and nobody'll touch you." Rick, red-faced, storms toward the ring. "That was a lucky shot." "My guy slipped." You turn to him calmly. "Then maybe next time he'll fall with purpose." The crowd snickers. The tension cracks. A few start clapping, hesitant at first, then building. Someone whispers near the back, "Yo, he looks familiar." Rick hears it too. His glare falters for just a heartbeat. You can see the calculation behind his eyes. Recognition trying to surface but refusing to believe it. You step through the ropes, untaping your hands as the applause grows. One of the older trainers, a quiet man who's been sweeping the ring corners for years, approaches with a slow grin. "Haven't seen that form since '08, he murmurs. "Precision Cole. That really you?" You smile faintly but don't answer. Just pat him on the shoulder and walk toward the exit. Behind you, Rick's voice wavers. "Precision who?" The old trainer chuckles. "Son, you just bet against a legend. People still argue whether that punch was luck, instinct, or fate. But those who were there, who saw the way you moved, the way the silence hung after, they know. It wasn't a fight. It was a reminder, and for the first time in years, the janitor left the gym without the mop. 15 years earlier, the world had shouted your name under bright lights. Marcus Precision Cole, the man whose fighters never missed, whose timing turned boxers into poets and gloves into metronomes. You stood in corners of champions, your calm voice guiding them through storms of fists and fame. The press called you the prophet of patience, the strategist who could read an opponent's heartbeat before the first punch landed. But glory is a fragile thing. Back then, the air in Vegas smelled like smoke, sweat, and ambition. Your fighter, a young prodigy with speed to burn, was about to take the national title. Cameras flashed. The announcer's voice cracked the night. Then came the whisper, sliding through the locker room like poison. "Cole's throwing the fight. You didn't even know who started it." Maybe jealousy. Maybe a rival promoter who couldn't stomach another black trainer rising too fast. But once a rumor catches flame, truth burns slower than lies. When your fighter slipped in the third round, a misstep, nothing more. The crowd gasped like witnesses to betrayal. He lost by decision, and before you could speak, the headlines wrote your story for you. Fixing Scandal Rock's Olympic boxing circuit, Cole under suspicion. No charges, no proof. Just whispers, the kind that ruin reputations quicker than evidence clears them. You spent weeks defending yourself, chasing reporters who'd already moved on to fresher scandals. Sponsors withdrew. Gyms that once begged for your coaching suddenly forgot your number. By the time you realized fighting back was useless, the damage was done. You packed your gloves, drove west, and took the first job that didn't care about your name. Mopping floors at a downtown gym where no one looked twice at you. And maybe, in a way, you needed that silence. The hum of fluorescent lights replaced the roar of crowds. The rhythm of mopping floors became your new training bell. Every swipe, every squeeze of the mop handle was a reminder. Control what you can. Let the rest fall away. That was where you met Lena, the night shift nurse from the clinic across the street. She'd stop by after shifts, bringing leftover coffee and teasing you about your serious face. "You look like you're still coaching ghosts," she'd say. Maybe she was right. You were. When she got sick, you sold what was left of your old gym equipment to pay the bills. She never asked where it came from. Maybe she knew. When she passed, you didn't step back into a ring for years, until now. You stand outside the gym after the match, the echo of the crowd still buzzing in your ears. It's been years since your hands have rapped like that, since your pulse beat in sync with another man's breath in the ring. You lean against the wall, eyes tracing the old tattoo on your wrist. Balance before power. It's faded now, like everything else from that life. Inside, you can hear Rick's voice trying to patch his pride. Lucky punch! Man's got good reflexes, sure, but he's no real fighter. But his tone is off, forced, uneven, because deep down, even Rick knows what he saw. The way you moved wasn't luck. It was mastery. He storms into his office, slamming the door behind him. Darnell stands outside, rubbing his jaw, equal parts sore and thoughtful. He looks over when he spots you outside through the window. You give him a small nod. Keep your left guard tighter next time, you call softly. He nods back, half smiling. Yes, sir. There's respect in his tone now, quiet, unspoken, but real. That night you return to your apartment. A small, neat place filled with shadows and old photographs. One in particular sits on your desk, you and your fighter, arms raised, before everything fell apart. You flip it face down. You turn on the TV more out of habit than interest. A sports show plays highlights from the local gym event. Someone must have uploaded the sparring clip already. There you are on the screen, silent, graceful, landing the single counterpunch that sent Darnell down. The host laughs nervously. Who is this guy? Viewers are saying that's Marcus Cole. Remember him? The precision coach? Couldn't be, right? You exhale slowly. Fame has a way of chasing ghosts when it's convenient. People still argue whether justice ever finds its way back. Sometimes it does, but only after losing its map. The next morning, you arrive early again. The gym is quieter now. The buzz from yesterday's spectacle hasn't settled. Some fighters nod to you with new respect. Others avoid your gaze, ashamed of their laughter. Rick emerges from his office, sunglasses hiding the bruises of humiliation more than exhaustion. Cole, he says finally, voice low but sharp. You made me look like a fool. You shrug lightly. You made that bet yourself. He steps closer. I don't care who you used to be. You're not a coach here. You're staff. You understand? There's anger in his tone, but underneath it, fear. You meet his stare, calm as always. Don't worry. I'm not here to take your job. He opens his mouth, then closes it. Walks away. You can tell he's already planning something. Maybe another match. Maybe a way to save face, but he doesn't realize something yet. The moment he made that bet, he started training again. Not you. Himself. Against his own ego. You finish cleaning and sit on the edge of the ring, the same place you stood when you first taught your prodigy years ago. You remember telling him, a real fighter never proves he's strong. He proves he's still standing when the world calls him weak. You whisper it again now to no one in particular. And somewhere deep inside you feel it. That old pulse. Not pride, purpose, because this time the fight isn't about reputation. It's about reclaiming silence and turning it into respect. Rick doesn't sleep that night. His pride, his business, his image, all bruised in one humiliating instant by a man who was supposed to clean sweat off the floors, not produce it. By morning, he's pacing his office, scrolling through old fight records online. He types Marcus Cole boxing trainer scandal into the search bar, and there it is, a faded headline. Buried under years of internet dust, Olympic coach under suspicion of match fixing, disappears after investigation. Rick exhales, the smirk returning to his face like an old scar. So that's your secret, he mutters. You're not a hero. You're a has-been. He leans back in his chair, a plan forming, the kind of vindictive, slow burn plan born from insecurity, not intelligence. You, meanwhile, are in the break room folding towels, humming softly to yourself. The rhythm of the washer reminds you of the old gym bells, a 3-minute timer that used to control your entire life. You don't know yet what Rick's found, but you can sense something in the air. That tension. The way certain people stop talking when you walk by. The way Darnell avoids eye contact, not from shame, but from confusion. Loyalty torn between the man who trained him and the man who pays him. Later that week, Rick calls for a team meeting. Everyone gathers in the gym, the ring lit like a stage under the overhead lamps. He steps up with that salesman grin, the one he uses when he's about to sell guilt disguised as opportunity. Folks, he begins, you've probably all seen the video by now. Our janitor's little stunt went viral. Good for business, right? But I did some digging and I found something real interesting. He paces slowly, theatrically. The fighters exchange uneasy glances. Turns out our man Marcus used to be a coach. The Marcus Cole, you remember the scandal? Fixing matches? Disappeared before the feds could question him. He stops, letting the words hang like smoke. Guess that's why he ended up scrubbing floors instead of calling rounds. The silence after that is long and sharp. You can hear your heartbeat, calm, steady, unashamed. You don't flinch. You just look at him and say evenly, "You done?" Rick blinks, thrown off by your composure. "You're not denying it?" No need to. The truth doesn't change just because someone's still bitter they lost. A few chuckles ripple through the crowd. Darnell tries to hide a smile. Rick's jaw tightens. Fine, if you're so confident, why not prove it? Saturday night, charity showcase. You step in the ring again, against my best guy. Real match. No excuses this time. A murmur moves through the gym. You can see what he's doing. Turn you into a public spectacle. Rewrite humiliation as entertainment. You give a small nod. Fine, but if I win, you apologize to every worker in this place you've ever disrespected. Out loud, Rick laughs. And when you lose? You pause. Then I'll quit. For good. He grins, the grin of a man too blind to see the trap he's setting for himself. Deal. That night, you're back in your apartment, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. You sit with your old gloves spread out on the table, cracked leather, torn stitching, relics of a life you buried. You remember your father's voice, rough but warm. Son, you don't fight people. You fight doubt. You fight fear. You fight the moment you almost give up. You whisper it now like a prayer. On the counter sits your phone. A notification lights up. A message from an unknown number. He's setting you up. Darnell's part of it. Be careful. You stare at it, unreadable. A trap within a trap. You type back, thanks. But some lessons only stick if they hit hard. Saturday night arrives like a storm front, humid, electric. The gym's been transformed into an event space, cameras rolling, crowd buzzing. Rick has turned this into a spectacle, charging entry at the door, milking your humiliation for profit. The banners say, Charity Brawl for Youth Fitness. But everyone knows what they're here to see, an old janitor getting taught a lesson. You step into the locker room, quiet as a church before Mass. Darnell walks in, gloves already laced, sweat shining on his temples. He won't meet your eyes. You knew? You ask softly. He hesitates. He said, if I don't fight, I'm out. I got bills, man. You understand. You nod once. Then fight me honest. No shortcuts. He looks up, guilt flickering. You sure about this? You smile faintly. Never been more sure. When you step out, the noise hits like thunder. The crowd chants your name mockingly. Janitor! Janitor! But beneath the mockery, there's curiosity. The kind that keeps people watching when they expect disaster. Rick stands ringside, smug in his expensive jacket. Welcome, folks. Tonight, we prove that titles matter, not rumors. The bell rings. First round. Darnell comes in strong, young, fast, hungry. You move lightly, deflecting each hit, conserving energy. To the untrained eye, you look slow. To anyone who's ever fought, you look patient. Second round. He gets confident, starts showboating, waving at the crowd. You let him. You're not fighting him. You're teaching him. Then, as he steps in for one last overconfident hook, you shift your stance. A half step, a measured counter. The glove connects with his shoulder, not his chin. But it's enough. The crowd gasps. The boy stumbles, his rhythm broken. You stop. You don't chase him. You lower your hands. Learn the rhythm, you whisper. Confused murmurs ripple through the crowd. Rick frowns. He doesn't understand what's happening, why you're not attacking. You wait, patient, precise, just like old times, because this fight isn't about victory. It's about truth. And truth, like timing, always lands when silence stretches the longest. The bell clangs again. Round 3. Sweat rolls down Darnell's temples, his breathing quickening, the cocky rhythm gone. He studies you now, searching for openings that aren't there. You move like someone who's memorized time itself. each pivot and pause precisely where it needs to be. The crowd murmurs. Confusion replaces laughter. Why's the old guy still standing? Someone calls out. Rick's smirk tightens. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Darnell feints left, then jabs, aiming high. You let the punch graze your cheek, just enough to make it look close, then slip around him, whispering, "Too wide." The next moment, you tap his ribs with a single, precise counter. The sound isn't loud, but it's surgical. The kind of hit that changes breathing patterns, not headlines. He stumbles back. "You don't follow." You give him a small nod. Coach to student, not enemy to enemy. Something shifts in Darnell's eyes. The crowd doesn't see it, but Rick does. The boy's not fighting you anymore. He's learning. That's when the real panic hits Rick's face. At ringside, a few phones are up now, streaming live. The comments scroll faster than punches land. "Who is this janitor?" Bro's technique is textbook. "Look at that footwork." "Wait, that's Marcus Cole?" "The Marcus Cole?" The internet, it seems, doesn't forget. It just waits for a comeback story worth telling. Rick sees the screens, sees his plan slipping away. So, in a move that reeks of desperation, he signals to the referee. Moments later, the ref steps in too soon. Accidental low blow. "Timeout!" Even though everyone saw the hit was clean. You exhale through your nose, patient, knowing exactly what this is. Rick walks up to the ropes, feigning concern. "Hey, you okay there, Darnell?" "Don't let him hustle you, son. Man's a cheat. He's been one his whole life." The gym hushes. That word, cheat, hangs like a curse. You look at Rick, calm but sharp. "Funny thing," you say quietly. "Only people afraid of losing talk like that." He smirks. "You wouldn't understand winning." You step closer to the ropes, eyes steady. "You mistake noise for victory, Rick. I've lived long enough to know better." The bell rings again before he can respond. Round 4 begins. You can tell Darnell's torn, part of him still under Rick's command, the other part drawn to the control in your movements. You move with purpose now, not aggression. Each step is instruction. Each dodge, a lesson. "Keep your stance narrow," you murmur between punches. "You're wasting power." He adjusts. It works. His next hit lands solidly against your guard. You nod approvingly. "Good." By the time the round ends, the crowd's energy has changed entirely. They're no longer laughing. They're watching, respectfully. Someone shouts, "Give him a contract!" And half the room laughs, but not mockingly this time. Rick senses the tide turning and snaps. He rushes to the announcer. "End it! Disqualify him!" He hisses. The announcer hesitates. "On what grounds?" Rick leans close, whispering harshly. "Unsanctioned fighter. He's not even licensed. If something happens, we're liable." The announcer looks uncertain. The crowd, however, is buzzing too loud to stop now. In the ring, you hear fragments of their exchange. You know he's trying to pull the plug, because losing control terrifies men like Rick more than losing money. You glance at Darnell. "Last round. Make it count." He nods, determination flickering behind his eyes. The bell. He comes in strong, heart leading, fear fading. You dodge, block, counter. The ring becomes a rhythm lesson. You let him chase you, testing his patience. He slips, overextends, and that's when you tap him with a clean, lightning-quick hook. Not brutal, surgical. The sound echoes like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. Darnell drops to one knee, not out cold, but humbled. He raises a glove. "I'm good," he gasps, smiling faintly. You help him up. The ref hesitates, then raises your hand. The crowd erupts, not with chaos, but with awe. It's not a knockout. It's something rarer, a masterclass in dignity. Rick storms into the ring, face red, voice cracking. "This doesn't prove anything." "He's a fraud, a washed-up," a voice from the back interrupts him. "Firm, female, unmistakable." "Funny thing, Rick," she says, stepping forward. "You're standing in a gym that wouldn't even exist without his training methods." The crowd parts. It's Jasmine Cole, your former protege, now a decorated Olympic coach herself, her name stitched proudly across her jacket. Rick blinks, thrown. You trained with him?" She smirks. "Trained under him. The same man you just mocked trained half the people you put on posters. The crowd roars again, phones now aimed at Rick. His face drains of color. Jasmine steps closer to you, eyes soft. I told you I'd find you one day, Coach. You smile faintly. Guess I didn't mop floors quietly enough. The laughter breaks the tension. But for Rick, this is no comedy. His empire of arrogance just cracked under the weight of truth. He stumbles backward, muttering excuses no one hears. The cameras catch every second. And online, in real time, redemption starts trending. People still argue whether justice happens by chance or design. But sometimes, all it takes is a broom, a punch, and a crowd ready to listen. Because silence isn't weakness. It's just the part of the story people underestimate right before it lands. The video explodes online within hours. Clips of your quiet mastery, that one clean counter, the calm in your eyes, the moment Jasmine called you coach, circulate across every feed, captioned with lines like, "The janitor who taught the world a lesson," when humility met ego in the ring. In just one night, the internet does what 15 years of silence couldn't. It gives you your name back. But the noise isn't all admiration. The trolls crawl out too. Still a cheater? Bet it was staged. He's too old to fight clean. And for a brief second, you feel that familiar ache. The weight of a reputation dragged through mud by people who never knew your truth. But then, your phone buzzes again. It's Jasmine. A simple message, press conference tomorrow. Let me handle it. Just show up. You stare at the screen, unsure whether to laugh or brace yourself. Because for all the years you hid, this right here that feels like the final round. The next morning, the gym's transformed into something else entirely. Cameras everywhere. Reporters waiting. Rick's office door shut tight, blinds drawn like a barricade. You stand near the edge of the ring, mop in hand. A strange kind of symmetry. You started here cleaning up after others. Now the world wants to hear you speak. Jasmine's voice cuts through the chatter. All right, everyone, quiet down. She's poised, confident. Every bit the leader you once hoped she'd become. We're here to address the viral video and, more importantly, set the record straight. A reporter raises a mic. Ms. Cole, can you confirm if that man is the same Marcus Cole accused of match fixing back in 2010? Jasmine doesn't flinch. Yes, I can. And I can also confirm that accusation was never proven, because it was fabricated by a promoter who went to prison for fraud 3 years later. You can check the records, gasps ripple through the room. The cameras swing toward you. You stay silent, calm, present. She continues. Marcus didn't run from the sport. The sport ran from him. But what people forget is, while everyone was chasing headlines, he was still teaching. Quietly, patiently. Half of us wouldn't be standing here without him. A murmur of approval moves through the crowd. Some of your former students, men and women who once trained under you in tiny gyms, neighborhood rec centers, after-school programs, step forward, standing beside you like witnesses to truth. Rick's office door opens slowly. He steps out, face pale. Jasmine, he starts, forcing a laugh. We don't need to make this personal. It was all for show, you know? Promotion, hype. She cuts him off, voice sharp. You humiliated a man for views. You called it charity, but it was cruelty wrapped in a camera angle. Rick freezes, realizing for the first time how small his voice sounds in a room full of people who've stopped believing him. You finally speak, your voice steady. Don't be too hard on him. Some men only know how to swing when they're afraid of standing still. The reporters murmur, scribbling every word. Later, outside, Jasmine catches up with you. The midday sun hits the parking lot, heat shimmering off windshields. You didn't have to defend me, you say softly. She smiles. You taught me to finish what I start. Besides, you're not the villain in my story. You're the reason I ever stepped into a ring. You chuckle. Guess I was training more than fighters back then. She leans against your old pickup. What are you going to do now? You shrug. Probably keep mopping floors until they find someone younger who knows how to fix the mop bucket. She laughs, the kind of laugh that fills empty spaces. Or, she says, You could come work with me. My gym in Atlanta's opening a mentorship program. We could use someone who remembers what fighting's really about. You study her face, so much of the same determination you once had. For a moment, you see the echo of your younger self, but steadier, wiser. You sure? You ask. I come with a lot of baggage, she nods. Yeah, but it's the kind that makes people stronger. Inside, Rick watches from his office window, jaw tight. The gym he built, the name he branded, now belongs to someone else in spirit. His phones buzz with cancellation notices. Sponsors pulling out. Word travels fast when respect leaves a room. He sinks into his chair, staring at a photo on the wall. Him standing ringside, smiling beside a fighter who no longer trains with him. The reflection in the glass shows what he's become. A man who mistook authority for worth. He picks up the phone, hesitates, then sets it down again. Outside, you and Jasmine walk toward the exit, the mop handle balanced on your shoulder like an old weapon sheathed for good. As you pass the front desk, one of the young fighters calls out, "Hey, Mr. Cole!" You turn. "Sorry we laughed," he says. "Didn't know." You nod gently. Most people don't, until they listen. You push open the door. The air smells like rain about to fall. Clean, heavy, promising. In the distance, thunder rolls, soft and steady, like applause that took its time getting there. You look up and smile, because justice doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it walks in slow, quiet, and perfectly timed, just like a counterpunch. And this time, you didn't need to throw it. You just had to stand long enough for the truth to land. The storm breaks later that night, a slow, steady rain that drapes the city in silver light. The streets shimmer, empty except for the hum of passing cars and the rhythmic sound of droplets on pavement. You sit by your apartment window, lights off, watching the reflection of water slide down the glass. The phone buzzes again. This time it's not reporters or Jasmine. It's a number you haven't seen in over a decade. You hesitate, thumb hovering above the screen. Then you answer. A familiar voice, older but still warm, crackles through the line. "Didn't think you'd still be using the same number." "Didn't think you'd still be looking for me," you reply quietly. "It's Andre." "Your old fighter. The one whose loss started the rumors all those years ago." "I saw the video," he says. "Didn't believe the stories then, don't believe them now. I should have spoken up, man. I let you take the fall." You exhale. "We were kids, Dre. The game was bigger than us." "Nah," he says, his voice catching. "The game was us. You just played it too clean for them to handle." Silence stretches. Outside, lightning flashes, a brief, brilliant pulse that illuminates your small living room. Gloves drying on a chair, mop leaning by the door. The face-down photograph of you and him mid-celebration. You turn it upright again. "Maybe it's time people knew the truth," Andre says. "They already do," you reply. "They just needed a reason to remember." 2 weeks later, you're in Atlanta. Jasmine's gym isn't flashy. Brick walls, scuffed floors, and posters of past fighters framed like sacred texts. The sign outside reads, "Coleman Legacy Boxing, Precision, Purpose, Patience." You laugh when you see the middle word. "You really remembered that speech I gave you after you lost your first match?" "Word for word," she says, handing you a clipboard. "Now it's your turn to give the next generation a few." Inside, young fighters shadow box, their sneakers squeaking against the mat. They look at you with wide eyes, not as a janitor, not as a scandal, but as a legend they'd only heard whispers about. You walk slowly between the rows, adjusting stances, correcting form, speaking softly. The same way your mentor once did with you. "Control before strength," you tell one boy. "Power means nothing if it's wild." "Confidence isn't noise," you remind another. "It's breathing steady when everyone's watching." Jasmine watches from the corner, smiling. The past, it seems, has finally exhaled. Meanwhile, back in the city you left behind, Rick's gym is up for sale. A local paper runs a short piece. "Former MMA owner faces bankruptcy after viral backlash." The headline barely trends. For once, silence doesn't protect him. It swallows him whole. People still talk about the janitor's fight, Some say it was staged. Others say it was divine justice. But those who were there, those who felt the stillness before that first punch landed, they know it wasn't about fists or fame. It was about balance, about timing, about dignity landing right where arrogance used to stand. Weeks pass. You settle into the rhythm of teaching again. Early mornings, late nights. No cameras this time, just gloves hitting pads, breath sinking with discipline. One evening, as the sun dips low, Jasmine calls out from across the gym, "You ever miss it? The lights, the noise, the crowd chanting your name?" You think for a moment, then smile. "I've still got lights," you say, nodding to the flickering bulbs above. "Got noise, that's Malik's footwork squeaking wrong. And as for the name, I think I like the sound of coach better," she laughs. "You always were allergic to fame." You grin. "Nah, just allergic to lies." That night, after the last student leaves, you sit alone in the ring. The ropes creak softly. The hum of the city beyond the walls sounds like distant applause. You close your eyes, let the rhythm of the world settle in your chest. Steady, even earned in that stillness. You hear echoes. Your father's voice, Lena's laugh, Jasmine's first nervous sparring session, Darnell's quiet apology. Every sound layered into something whole again. Justice, you realize, was never about revenge. It was about reclamation, taking back the narrative they stole from you. The rain starts again outside, soft and unhurried. You look up, smiling as the droplets tap the old skylight, tracing patterns of light over the ring. You whisper, "Balance before power," one last time, not as instruction, but as closure. The story ends not in cheers, but in calm, the kind that comes when the storm has done its work and left the air washed clean. You walk out of the gym into the night, streetlights glinting on the wet pavement. Somewhere behind you, a young fighter keeps practicing, echoing your words into the air. Control before strength. Confidence isn't noise. For the first time in years, you don't look back. The world, once too loud to hear you, now hums with quiet respect. Maybe people will forget the scandal. Maybe they won't. But that's not the point anymore. What matters is that they remember the lesson. That worth doesn't fade when titles do, and truth doesn't expire just because time passes. In a world obsessed with winning, you found something rarer. Peace in the pause, power in patience. And as the camera fades, your silhouette blends into the rain, not a fighter, not a janitor, but a man who taught the world that redemption isn't about fighting harder. It's about standing still long enough to let justice catch up. If this story reminded you that real strength isn't loud, it's patient, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next tale of truth, hitting harder than any punch. Have you ever seen someone underestimated because of where they work, how they look, or what people think they can't do? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experience might inspire our next viral lesson in dignity and poetic justice. And here's a challenge for the sharp-eyed viewers. There's a blink and you'll miss it moment around minute 7:15 right before the knockout, when Marcus adjusts his stance and looks at Jasmine. That tiny gesture quietly reveals he wasn't fighting Rick at all. He was fighting the moment he lost his name years ago. Watch again and tell us. What did you notice in that look? Because in this ring, every movement tells the truth, even the silent ones.